Something is wrong with the picture Claressa Shields has been trying to sell you, and it has nothing to do with boxing. The woman who called herself the greatest of all time, the woman who has been on every podcast and every live stream telling you that the YouTubers are helping her, that the hate is fuel, that the endorsements are pouring in, that the brands are calling her phone off the hook, that same woman is about to walk into a training camp for a fight nobody is talking about while the mother of her boyfriend's children just went on Angie Martinez, sat down in front of a syndicated New York radio audience, and casually announced to the entire hip-hop world that she is officially, publicly, unapologetically single. Remy Ma is single. Read that again. Remy Ma, the wife of Papoose, the woman whose marriage Claressa allegedly walked into like it was a revolving door, the woman Claressa thought she had already replaced in the narrative. That woman is back on the market and glowing like she just discovered a fountain of youth in the middle of the Bronx. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. This is not a gossip story. This is not a shade story. This is a karma story with receipts, and the receipts are stacking up in real time on every platform that matters. Because while Claressa is in Michigan complaining about a weight cut she created for herself with chicken pot pies and Aruba vacations, Remy is on the Summer Jam stage. While Claressa is dropping a diss record that has 6,000 views in 2 days, Remy is doing Lifetime movies. While Claressa is posting AI-generated Barbie mock-ups pretending she is the Black Barbie of boxing, Mattel just released a real Barbie doll of Angel Reese, the same Angel Reese Claressa hated on in public. And by the time we get to what Remy said about DM sliders on that Angie Martinez couch, and I promise you we are getting to it, you are going to understand why this is not just a bad week for Claressa Shields. This is the moment the entire manufactured narrative collapses in front of her. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Now let me set the table properly, because a lot of you are just tuning in, and I do not want anybody left behind on the context here. Claressa Shields is a decorated boxer. Nobody in this conversation is denying that. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion in multiple weight classes, one of the most accomplished female boxers in the history of the sport. That part of her resume is not up for debate, and I am not going to insult your intelligence by pretending it is. What is up for debate, what has been up for debate for months now, is the character, the decision-making, the brand management, and the public behavior of Claressa Shields outside of the ring. Because at some point in the last year and change, this woman decided that being a great boxer was not enough. She wanted to be a rapper. She wanted to be a singer. She wanted to be an influencer. She wanted to be a Barbie. She wanted to be a mogul. She wanted to be the face of women's boxing while simultaneously being in the middle of a public entanglement with Papoose, the Brooklyn battle rapper who is still legally married to Remy Ma, one of the most respected women in the entire history of hip-hop. And the way that entanglement has played out in public, the interviews, the Tamron Hall appearance, the leaked text messages, the Cash App receipts, the alleged secret child conversations, all of it has been a slow-motion demolition of Claressa's brand outside of the ring. So the stakes here are not just about who slept with who. The stakes are about a woman who is on the verge of becoming a household name, a woman who could have followed the exact blueprint that Layla Ali followed, the exact blueprint that Angel Reese is following right now, the exact blueprint that turns a great athlete into a global brand with endorsements and a doll on a shelf and a Spice line and a Reebok deal. That was on the table. That was hers to take. And instead, she chose the Papoose route. She chose the beef route. She chose the diss track route. She chose to publicly antagonize Alicia Baumgardner, Angel Reese, Layla Ali, Christina Hammer, and honestly any woman who breathed in her direction. And now, right in the middle of a training camp for a fight against Cynthia Coo, a fight that platforms are barely promoting, Remy Ma decides she is single. And the timing, my friends, the timing is not an accident. The timing is the story. Because when the mother of your man's children announces she is available, and she announces it looking like she just walked off a magazine cover, and she announces it while your career is quietly imploding, that is not a coincidence. That is what we in the culture call a checkmate. And the question everybody should be asking is simple. If Claressa was so secure, if she really believed everything she has been telling us, why is her whole aura about to shift the second Remy Ma walks into a room with a microphone? Because that is exactly what just happened. Let us go straight to the surface evidence, because there is a lot of it and none of it is favorable for the woman who calls herself the GWAT. Exhibit 1. Remy Ma at Summer Jam 2026. On stage. In front of the Hot 97 audience. In front of every legend in New York. performing with Fat Joe, sharing the moment with Rick Ross, sharing the moment with DaBaby, sharing the moment with everybody who actually has cultural currency in this genre in this current moment. That happened. That is on video. That is on every timeline. And I need you to sit with that image for a second, because Papoose, the man who publicly claimed on more than one occasion that he wrote 90% of Remy Ma's hits, that man was nowhere near that stage. That man is currently rapping in the front seat of what looks like a rideshare vehicle in Brooklyn. That man is doing freestyles about making a U-turn, you learn, you burn. That man is not on the Summer Jam screen. His wife is. His estranged wife. The one he says he made. She is the one out there getting the applause, and he is the one narrating traffic in Kings County. If you needed a visual for how this year has gone for these two households, that is the visual. Exhibit 2. Remy Ma's new music. She has dropped multiple records in the last stretch, and they are performing. We are talking hundreds of thousands of views, chart placement on iTunes in the rap category, actual listener engagement, actual radio spins, actual conversation around the songs. Compare that, and I really do mean compare it side by side, to Claressa Shields' diss record aimed at Alicia Baumgardner. That song has been out for 2 days at the time of this recording. 6,000 views. 6,000. In 2 days. On a platform where a stray cat with a bow tie can pull 20,000 in an afternoon. And the song itself is not being defended by anybody. Not even the diehards. The background vocals are mixed louder than the lead vocals because the lead vocals allegedly could not carry the melody. The auto-tune is doing gymnastics. The bars are not bars. The cadence is broken. There are no double times, there are no triple times, there are no ad-libs that hit, there is no lyricism, there is no substance, there is no pocket. It is a minute and change of a woman who is a great boxer trying to convince the internet that she is also a great rapper, and the internet has responded by scrolling past. Exhibit 3. The AI Barbie mockups. Claressa has been on her page for weeks now posting AI-generated images of herself styled as a black Barbie doll. Little plastic-looking renders. Little fake box art. Little pretend endorsement graphics that never came from an actual endorsement. And she has been pushing this Barbie identity like it is a brand pillar. Which brings me to Exhibit 4, and this one is devastating. Mattel, the actual real-life corporation that makes actual real-life Barbie dolls, just announced a Barbie signature doll for Angel Reese. Complete with a matching Reebok basketball shoe. Real product. Real packaging. Real shelf. Real money. Angel Reese, the same Angel Reese that Claressa took a shot at when Angel won her BET Award in 2025, the same Angel Reese Claressa gave that half-hearted congratulations I guess to. That Angel Reese now has a Mattel Barbie doll with her name on it. And Claressa is over here in Photoshop generating fake ones. Do you see the gap? Do you see how wide the gap has become? One woman is being licensed by the biggest doll company in the world. The other is running Cash App promotions for bootleg Funko-style dolls that are not licensed by Funko, that were allegedly designed to look eerily similar to actual licensed Funko products from Ryan Garcia, Oscar de la Hoya, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. Real boxers. Real licenses. Real numbers on the box. Ryan Garcia has a Funko Pop labeled Pop Boxing number 4. That is not a mock-up. That is a product. Claressa is selling knockoffs to her own fans, and the internet noticed. That is Exhibit 4, and it is not a good look for a woman who keeps saying the endorsements are lined up around the block. And oh, do I have more for you? I have so much more that the Claressa defenders in the comments are already typing paragraphs I have not even prompted yet, and I want you to know I see you and I welcome you, because the numbers on this video are going to be beautiful thanks to you. But before you rage comment, at least stay for the part where we get to the Remy Ma slither line. Yes, the slither line. Yes, on Angie Martinez. Yes, aimed exactly where you think it was aimed. Because everything I just laid out is the appetizer. The main course is the cultural response, the insider reaction, the shift in the way the entire hip-hop community and the entire women's sports community is treating this woman right now. And once you hear what her own peers are quietly saying, and what the mother of her man's children just said out loud on syndicated radio, you are going to understand that this is not a rough patch. This is a reckoning. Let me walk you through the cultural evidence layer, because this is the layer that separates casual observers from people who actually understand what is happening. Start with Remy Ma's own public presence over the last several months. She interviewed Spike Lee on Good Morning New York. Spike Lee. Not a random. Spike Lee. She was courtside at Knicks playoff games. She was on the parade float when the Knicks won their first championship in 30 years, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ja Rule, Jada Kiss, Fat Joe, celebrating a city that has claimed her as one of its own for 2 decades. She did a Lifetime movie called Don't Trust the Girl Upstairs, which, by the way, is a title that reads like the universe was writing the metaphor for us. She is doing the soft girl era press run. She is doing the mom content. She is doing the fitness content. She is aging backward on camera. And every single one of those moments is being received warmly by the culture, by the fan base, by the media, and most importantly by the women in hip-hop who have historically been slow to embrace each other. That is a cultural signal. When Remy shows up somewhere, the response is love. When Claressa shows up somewhere, the response is a comment section fight. That contrast is not accidental. That contrast is the culture telling you who it has decided to protect. Now let us layer in the reactions from the boxing world. Layla Ali, whom Claressa took a very public shot at, calling her Miss You Pretty and dismissing her as just Muhammad Ali's daughter, Layla is thriving. She has a spice line. She has a children's book on the way. She has a garden she is expanding in her backyard that she has been documenting online. She is treated by every serious voice in boxing as royalty, as the gold standard for what a female boxer's post-career life is supposed to look like. Alicia Baumgardner, the actual current rival, the woman Claressa spent a minute and change of studio time trying to demolish on a diss record. Alicia has a television project reportedly in development. She is being complimented publicly by male athletes and male celebrities, and her name recognition has honestly gone up because of the beef, not down. Every arrow Claressa fires at these women lands in her own foot. And I need everybody to hear this next part clearly, because this is where a lot of the online conversation gets it wrong. Claressa's strategy of running her mouth was supposed to elevate her. That is the Conor McGregor playbook. That is the Floyd Mayweather playbook. Talk trash, sell tickets, cash checks. The problem is that playbook only works if you are also delivering a product people want to consume outside of the fights. Floyd sold the lifestyle. Conor sold the persona. Claressa is trying to sell music that nobody is streaming and Barbie dolls that do not exist. The playbook does not work if the product is not there. Now the counter-argument some of you are going to send me is that the negative attention still counts, that any press is good press, that the numbers will come. And I hear you. I do. But look at the receipts. Look at the 6,000 views. Look at the missing endorsements. Look at the platforms that are barely promoting the fight. If negative press was working, the K-Cuckoo fight would be trending. It is not. Ryan Garcia has a fight the week after, and Ryan's fight is already on Paramount Plus in the United States, DAZN in the United Kingdom, being pushed by every boxing outlet with a pulse. Claressa's fight is being treated like a regional undercard by the same media ecosystem she claims is scared of her. That is not manufactured hate. That is the market telling the truth. And the biggest cultural signal of all, the one that I think honestly closes the case, is the fact that when Angie Martinez sat down with Remy Ma, Angie treated her the way you treat a returning champion. Not the way you treat a woman who just got embarrassed by a younger boxer allegedly stealing her husband. The way you treat a legend who is stepping back into her spotlight on her own terms. Because that is what the culture has decided Remy is. And that decision was made without Claressa's input, without Papoose's spin, and without a single Instagram live rebuttal being able to change it. Now here is where I have to pull the emergency brake and change lanes on you completely, because if we stay in the entertainment layer of this story, we are going to miss the actual reason this situation is bigger than anybody has been telling you. This is not a story about a rapper's wife and a boxer's girlfriend. This is a story about brand economics in the modern athlete era, and Claressa Shields is a case study in how to torch a 9-figure endorsement runway in under 18 months. Let me explain what I mean, because this is the layer nobody in the commentary space is going deep enough on. In the current sports and entertainment marketplace, a top-tier female athlete is not paid by her sport. She is paid by her marketability. The purses in women's boxing are, to put it politely, not what they should be. The purses in the WNBA are not what they should be. The purses in women's soccer, women's tennis outside of the top 4 or 5, women's MMA, all of them are structurally lower than the male equivalents. Which means the actual money, the generational money, the house in Calabasas money, does not come from the sport itself. It comes from the brand deals, the licensing deals, the media deals, the equity deals, the ownership stakes, the production companies, the book deals, the doll deals, the shoe deals, the spice lines, the podcast networks. That is where the money lives. And every single one of those revenue streams is gated by one thing: brand safety. Corporations do not sign athletes who are embroiled in messy public entanglements with married men. Corporations do not sign athletes who are bootlegging other companies' product designs and getting called out for it on the internet. Corporations do not sign athletes whose social media presence is a running comment section war with other female athletes in adjacent sports. Corporations sign athletes who look like they can be trusted with their brand equity for a 10-year deal. That is layer 1 of the systemic analysis. Now layer 2. The women's sports moment we are currently living in is historic. Caitlin Clark just changed the WNBA's television numbers permanently. Angel Reese is a Barbie, an Adidas signature athlete reportedly in the pipeline, and a face of the league. Aya Wilson is in Lowe's commercials, on billboards, and just picked up her latest MVP hardware. Coco Gauff is a global brand. Simone Biles is a global brand. The women who are getting paid right now are the ones whose off-court behavior matches their on-court excellence. That is the pattern. That is the formula. Corporations decided at some point in the last 3 years that they would rather sign the boring winner than the interesting loser. And Claressa, by every available measure, has positioned herself as the interesting loser at the exact moment the market was ready to write her a very large check for being the boring winner. That is layer 2. Now layer 3, and this is the one that hurts the most, because this is the one that is actually forever. Cultural memory in the hip-hop and sports space is long. Very long. Ask Ja Rule how long it takes to shake off a bad look. Ask Fat Joe how long it took to rebuild after his own rough stretch. Ask literally anybody who has been on the wrong side of a public narrative for 2 consecutive news cycles. The internet does not forget, and neither do the executives who make the 7-figure phone calls. What Claressa is doing right now, the diss records, the Barbie AI, the Papoose entanglement, the fights with Alicia and Angel and Layla and Christina, all of it is being cataloged. All of it is being screenshot. All of it is being saved in a folder somewhere in a marketing department at Nike, at Adidas, at Reebok, at Under Armour, at Mattel, at every company that could have made her rich outside of the ring. And when her fighting career ends, and it will end eventually, because everybody's does, those folders are going to be opened. And the decision is going to be made not on her medals, not on her titles, not on her record. The decision is going to be made on whether her name is a brand asset or a brand liability. Right now, in real time, she is voting for liability. Every day, every post, every live stream, every diss record. And she does not seem to understand that the vote is being counted. So let me bring it all home now, because everything I have laid out for you leads to one conclusion, and it is the conclusion that Claressa Shields is going to have to sit with whether she likes it or not. The Angie Martinez interview did not just announce that Remy Ma is single. The Angie Martinez interview announced, in the most public way possible on the most respected New York radio platform available, that Remy Ma is single, thriving, in her soft girl era, dropping new music, glowing on camera, and warning her friends about men who slide in DMs. And when Angie asked her about dating, Remy went into detail about how her friends are trying to set her up, about how she has not dated in almost 20 years because she was in the same relationship the entire time, about how she does not really know how to date, about how she needs to get her manicures and pedicures and waxes back on schedule before she can even entertain the idea. And then, and this is the line, this is the one that lit the internet on fire the second the clip dropped, she said, and I quote as reported from the interview, "Once a DM slider, always a DM slider." She said the guy in question slithers into her DMs. She used the word slither. On purpose. In front of Angie Martinez. On a syndicated show. And I need everybody to understand what that word means in this specific context, because Papoose himself, on the Tamron Hall couch, on national television, told the world that Claressa Shields was the one who slid into his DMs. He said it. Look it up. It is documented. Which means that when Remy uses the word slither, when Remy talks about DM sliders, when Remy says once a slider, always a slider, the entire internet, the entire culture, and every person who has been following this saga knows exactly who she is talking about without her ever having to say the name. That is a truth bomb. That is what a truth bomb looks like when it is dropped by a professional. Remy did not diss Claressa. Remy did not have to. Remy simply reminded the audience of a fact Papoose himself already put on the record and let the internet do the rest. And here is why this reveal is catastrophic for Claressa specifically. Because Claressa has spent months trying to construct a narrative in which she is the pretty girl, the desired one, the one being chased, the one who has men lined up, the one who did not have to work for the attention. That narrative just got vaporized on syndicated radio by the woman with the most credibility in the room. Because pretty girls, as Remy herself said, do not slide. Pretty girls sit back and let the attention come to them. Sliding is aggressive. Sliding is masculine energy. Sliding is what you do when you are the pursuer, not the pursued. And once that framing enters the culture, it does not leave. That is now Claressa's public identity in this saga. The slider. The pursuer. The one who chased a married man into a public embarrassment while his actual wife was quietly rebuilding her life and her career on the biggest stages in New York. And the worst part, the part that Claressa is going to feel for the next several weeks whether she admits it or not, is that Remy did not have to lie to get here. Remy did not have to exaggerate. Remy did not have to make a diss record. Remy did not have to go on Instagram Live and rant. Remy simply lived her life, showed up looking amazing, did the interviews, did the shows, did the movie, did the parade, and then casually mentioned on radio that she is single and that she does not respect DM sliders. That is it. That is the entire play. And it worked because the truth was already on her side. The evidence was already stacked. The culture had already made its decision. Remy just walked up to the microphone and confirmed what everybody already knew. And this is the part where I want to slow down and give credit where credit is genuinely due, because Remy Ma is doing something in this moment that a lot of women in her position could not do. She is winning without swinging. Think about what she has been through publicly. The alleged infidelity. The alleged secret child. The public humiliation of watching your husband do interviews with another woman on Tamron Hall while you are at home. The years of Papoose taking credit for her career. The court situations. The prison time she served over a decade ago that people still bring up. She has been through everything a woman in hip-hop can be put through, and she is still standing on the Summer Jam stage in 2026, looking like she is aging in reverse. That is discipline. That is the long game. That is what integrity looks like when it plays out over 20 years instead of 20 minutes. Compare that to what Claressa has offered us in the last 12 months. The diss records. The fake dolls. The Aruba trip while her family was dealing with hospice. The complaining about the weight cut she caused herself. The public sparring with every woman who has a bigger endorsement deal than her. The Cash App bootleg merch. The AI Barbie photo shoots. It is not even the same universe. One person is building a legacy. The other is burning one. And the reason I keep coming back to this contrast is because I want the young women who watch this channel to see it clearly. You can be a champion. You can be the greatest in your field. You can have the medals, the titles, the belts, the trophies. And you can still lose everything outside of the ring if you do not protect your name. Remy Ma is not a boxer. Remy Ma has never won a world title in any sport. Remy Ma, on paper, has a resume that is dwarfed by Claressa's athletic accomplishments. And yet, in the culture, in the marketplace, in the room where the checks get written, Remy is winning and Claressa is losing. Because the culture rewards the woman who carries herself with grace, and the market punishes the woman who does not. That is the lesson. That has always been the lesson. And Claressa is learning it in public, in front of all of us, in the middle of a training camp for a fight she should have been laser-focused on. Remy is fine. Remy is going to be fine. Remy is going to drop this music, do this press run, take her time getting back into dating, warn her homegirls about the sliders, and continue to glow. That is the ending. That is the resolution. The right person is winning. The evidence speaks for itself. And you do not have to take my word for it. You can just watch. But before we close this out, I need you to understand that this is only the start of what is coming for Claressa Shields, and if you are subscribed to this channel, you are going to be the first to know when the next shoe drops. Because there are two specific developments I am watching very closely, and I want you to watch them with me. The first one is what happens the moment Papoose gets back to New York after this training camp is over. Because Papoose has always attached himself to whichever woman in his life has the momentum, and right now the woman with the momentum is not the boxer in Michigan. It is his estranged wife in the Bronx. She is the mother of his child. She lives in his city. She just announced she is single. And based on his pattern, based on his history, based on everything we have watched him do publicly for years, the odds that he does not at least attempt to slither back into that situation are very, very low. And when that attempt happens, and it will happen, Claressa is going to know. And she is going to spiral. And we're going to cover it. The second development I am watching is the fight itself against Cynthia Cuckoo. Because if Claressa loses that fight, and there are real questions about whether her focus is where it needs to be, the entire narrative shifts from a woman losing her endorsements to a woman losing her sport too. And if she wins, the win is going to be overshadowed by everything we just talked about, because a win in a fight nobody is watching does not save a brand. It does not fix the folder in the marketing department. It does not bring back the Barbie deal. Either way, the story continues, and the story is going to get bigger before it gets smaller. So if you are not subscribed yet, this is the moment. Hit that button. Turn on the notification bell. And I will see you back here for the next one, because the next video I am dropping is the one where we finally break down the full timeline of every alleged DM, every alleged text message, every alleged Cash App receipt, every alleged secret meeting. From the very first moment Papoose and Claressa were reportedly connected all the way through last week. It is the receipts video. It is the one you have been asking for. And it is going to answer the one question everybody keeps asking in my comments, which is how did we get here in the first place? That video is dropping soon. Do not miss it. Hype this one up in the comments. Tell me who you think comes out of this whole thing on top, and I will see you in the next one.